Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with the Tenax Rebirth Circuit number 2 Electric Boogaloo. I am CJ Zephyr, and as always, I am joined by the beautifully handsome and charming Soren. How are you today, good sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Of course, thank you as well for joining me. It's going to be a great day. It is the final day of group play. So after this week, we're going into the playoffs, which means that every game today matters, especially the one we got up first. We have Underachievers versus Erinite, both teams locked at 2-2. In fact, the entire group is locked at 2-2, and that's the group including FlyQuest. So quite literally, so many very big teams are still on the cutting block. Every team needs a win today. I'm expecting every game today to be an absolute banger.
And we will be here to give you coverage of every decision made, every ultimate, every blunder. And we are here thanks to the generous people at Correct Media who have allowed us to keep this train going and putting everything together. And of course, the team behind the 10x Rebirth Circuit. Everyone at 10x is doing amazing work, and we appreciate every single one of you. I'm really excited to get into this first game. With Erinite and Underachievers. I've not seen an Underachievers game as of yet. Across the games that I have been able to watch and study up on, they're ones that haven't crossed me. But I don't think at the same time we've ever seen a group this tightly packed and this so close at especially
Yeah.
at like in the early days. Yeah, you kind of you have that sort of close neck and neck position, but at this point in the group stage, everything is to play for. As we go into the banning phase, sorry, what can we expect with the current meta?
I mean, the current meta is still kind of shaping out, but now seeing as the first day of this season was the first day of this tournament, it was a little chaotic in week one. It stabled a little bit out in week two, but now we are starting to see the cream kind of rise to the top. The poke meta is officially in. Flyers are still very viable, especially the Human Torch is still very much a what's called a high priority pick if you are to go flyers. However, we now also have big answers to that. So there's a lot of different compositions that we can expect to see. That being said, Emma Frost, not really all that much of a change coming from last season to this one, is still very high prio. That Luna Snow ban out. Luna Snow was the best outright healer in the game. The best combination right now, that strategist line is the Luna and the Loki. So to see that get banned away from both sides, not too surprising. Just get the best option off the board. The Magneto Protect is the best outright shielder in the game. Obviously, that was Doctor Strange for a little bit, but Magneto has definitely risen. That Magneto and Emma combination is actually rather strong. So, the fact that Emma's banned away for Underachievers for game one is gonna be maybe a little bit of a risk, but there are still other viable options. But we do see Underachievers going for a strategy that we saw for game number 2 of last week, which is a very heavy focus on banning away the supports. The more supports you ban away, as the smallest pool of heroes in the game, it really limits what compositions you can run.
Be very interested to see how that goes. Underachievers in red on attack, Erinite in defense, with blue going into this first round on Yggdrasil's path. Looks like they're going to try and ban away the thing is Erinite. So they're trying to sort of get rid of a couple of those supports, but get rid of Vanguards as well. They go in on the Invisible Woman. Meanwhile, Magneto banned away by Underachievers, again trying to narrow that pool as best they can. Does look like Erinite saving the Invisible Woman to trying to salvage any support, any specialists that they can going into this fight. With their picks being narrower and narrower, we are really starting to see the desperation in their defensive picks. Still waiting for that last ban on Underachievers' side. Looks like they go with the Human Torch, so trying to get rid of some of those flyers, try and clear the skies a little bit. And with their final save, they're going to save the Cloak and Dagger. Specialists who've seen a lot of value as of recent weeks. Especially with the banning of Magneto, Cloak and Dagger is a lot safer to kind of just play around the battlefield with their ultimate and sustain the team as best they can. Final ban of this round is going to be Human Torch again. So that is going to be Human Torch completely out of this game as we start to load in. Picks are being made going into Idrisil's path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not all that surprised by the bans across the board. We did see that protect for the Invisible Woman. I think that was very smart from Erinite. Obviously, not being able to get the Luna to get through. Invisible Woman is the next best outright healer in the game. So rather than the Loki Luna, we're going to see the Loki and the Invisible Woman. Not surprised by that at all. We do see an Atom, or at least we're seeing a tease of an Atom here. The resurrection composition has definitely taken a bit of a hit, but it is definitely not dead in the water. Mantis is a lot better on her own. So we have seen it get carried a little bit more by Mantis this season rather than the Adam Warlock. But we do eventually see it. We see the Mantis. We see the switch over to the Cloak and the Loki. Another really good combination. Pretty much any strong strategist with a big AoE ult with that Loki. Like I said, Luna's the best, but Cloak and Invisible Woman are very close behind second option. So not surprised to see them. Never mind. They're sticking with Adam. Never mind. The Resurrection comp is going to come out from UnderAchievers. That is definitely going to be interesting going into this first point. That is going to make it a little bit difficult. They already have the spawn advantage. So if they get some kills, Erinite are going to be on the back foot, but Erinite need to get multiple kills onto that backline to really make a big head start.
Of course, going into this first fight, UnderAchievers with the spawn advantage being on attack, but you are going to have Erinite with the positioning advantage. You've got a lot more open space, not really allowing UnderAchievers to get much distance, but the first fall goes down. Erinite able to get the pick, very well done from the thing, forcing UnderAchievers to back up ever so slightly before they can return to the field. Don't forget, this match is incredibly important in this group stage. Anything can happen in this group. Every victory, every point is going to calculate what we will see going into next week, the finals of the second circuit. We see this Punisher desperately trying to pick away at the Vanguards, but they're able to stay alive. Magneto from UnderAchievers does finally get a pick down, and they are able to get the revive zone from the Rocket Beacon. Another pick goes down. Rocket is eliminated. That's a specialist for Erinite out of the water. So now we do see UnderAchievers with that slight advantage. With the Invisible Woman ult and the Punisher ult, Cloak and Dagger trying to sustain their team as best they can, but starting to see them fall. 2 for the Punisher there, and that is going to be 3 down for Erinite as 4, now 5 down. Rocket, the only one standing still on the rerun. So now UnderAchievers can start making their way up that chicane.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see the Doctor Strange come out. I would not be surprised. It looks like we are going to be getting a portal here, and it is going to be a pretty big push. And the Emma ult immediately getting popped to clear way, and it is going to do some serious damage. A lot of low health bars, but there we go. The resurrections are back. Again, Erinite need to make up so much ground in order to actually clear away UnderAchievers, but it is pretty locked up. Erinite lose 2, but they're staying on point.
Doing very, very well. There is the Doctor Strange ult. Warlock able to keep himself up, and UnderAchievers are sustaining this fight and pushing everything they can. Doctor Strange desperately trying to hold on point, but Storm was able to eliminate him, and the thing is gone as well. That's both the Vanguards for Erinite, and they continue, UnderAchievers, to push this cart further and further to the checkpoint. A very, very good execution. I do want to bring attention as well. That Magneto ult through the Doctor Strange portal was a beautiful little shot. Very, very well done to King Monkey there. As we see Erinite trying to set up one last defense with the turret. It's up on the cart, trying to get a little bit of a moving fortress going. Invisible Woman has their ultimate, desperately going to try and get in there and sustain their team as much as they can. We see a Phoenix on the field, which is big. There is the Invisible Woman ult that's going to be able to sustain their team just enough to start getting some picks. There goes 2 for UnderAchievers. Erinite might have the momentum they need to take this point back, and they do, forcing UnderAchievers back towards their spawn, setting up their front line once again with 40 seconds on the clock. That could be the fight that decides it.
Yeah, a bit of a switch up in composition. Erinite switching over to a much more dive-heavy comp with that Psylocke, the Emma Frost sticking around, but with that Psylocke and the Captain America pairing up, it just puts a lot of pressure on that front line and even into the back, while they have that Phoenix and Loki just swinging on them from the back line, putting out massive damage. It's a really good combination, and it helps secure a lot of kills, as we do see yet another push through. Phoenix ult is being teased, not being dumped in quite yet, is cleared out before it is actually finds any room. Lots of ults being invested into this fight. Time is ticking. We're officially in overtime.
Yep, it's going to be every second now. We see the Erinite are falling like flies as the massive Warlock ultimate was able to bring the team back from the brink of death, and UnderAchievers might have just enough to get the checkpoint. Are they going to be able to make it? Phoenix desperately trying to make a play. They get shut down in the back. They do capture it, and we are officially on to the second sector of the map. UnderAchievers able to save a really tight point there as they continue to push towards the tree.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot was invested by Erinite there. And now UnderAchievers coming into this do have the advantage. So on top of taking point one, they should have it pretty easy for this first couple seconds here, pushing around this corner. 2 ults in their pocket, while Erinite have none, and are having to kind of reset. The first one they're going to have available is Loki, which can be helpful, but definitely not the first one you want to have to drop down. Venom is lurking on the side. This team is just looking for the dive. There we go. Big possible ult coming up through here. A lot of damage. Clears out one in the back line.
Very, very good use of the Venom, trying to get that push ever so slightly. A beautiful dive, and now we see the Invisible Woman desperately trying to sustain their team as best they can. There is the Cloak and Dagger ult from UnderAchievers, though, pairing it with the Punisher ult. The entire team is starting to drop. That's another 2 for Punisher. We saw 2 drop as well. We're down 5 drop total for Erinite. UnderAchievers continuing their push. Very, very strong, very aggressive. Punisher desperately trying to hide. Gets a pick up on the Mantis, but are they going to resurrect? Yes, they are. Now caught in the corner, though. Might have wasted it. Are they able to get away from this? No, they are not. They're taken down. It's only one person, but losing your support this close to the checkpoint could be deadly. But there is the Punisher ult, taking out another member of the team, and there's a beautiful spec through the portal, able to get through. That's 3 for the Punisher. Warlock might be able to get the resurrects just in time, but Erinite able to hold this point once again. Very, very close to the end of the lane. And by the skin of their teeth, Erinite is still in this match.
Yeah, Bets with that Punisher ult just clears way through that portal, which came down at the best opportune moment. 20 seconds left on the clock. This is the fight that's going to determine if we see point 3 get contested. The Emma ult immediately goes down, and it finds everyone there. They find 3 off it, and I think they're just going to pick up the scraps. With 7 seconds left, I think that's it. We do see the res, and he does have ultimate, but can they get to the point?
They don't make it in time. That was a massive resurrect from the Warlock. A really good use of the ult. But just a couple seconds more, they would have been able to get there. Erinite do very well to defend in that second section. UnderAchievers got very, very close to the door. But close, but no cigar. Erinite now moving on to offense. This could be very, very interesting as we see the hero picks. You know, this match had everything behind it, and we're seeing everything that the players have in store. But Erinite have a long way to go if they want to get the first point, a crucial point in this best of 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give, I know we keep saying how close this group is and how close these 2 teams are. To put in perspective, the only difference between the number 1 and number 2 and the number 3 and number 4 are that 3 and 4 have lost a singular map. Singular more map. The map count for all of these teams are 4-4 and 4-5. That is how tight it has been in this group. So at this point, every map counts, because if either of the games are close today, it might genuinely come down to it on who goes through to playoffs. So every map counts, every round counts, and we do see not a lot of changes. Erinite switches a little bit back off that heavy dive that we saw, which just makes sense. They're now more on the attack side, going back to that Doctor Strange, but they still have the Emma. They did also keep the Phoenix, so a lot farther back, a little bit more poke in the composition. That being said, it doesn't seem like it's hurting their chances, as they have pushed Underachievers pretty far back here.
They've done very, very well. Underachievers did not make as much use of that overhang as I was hoping we would see from them. We see 2 picks down for Erinite, taking out Underachievers. Venom was taken out. He's going to swap over to the Doctor Strange, possibly for that quick portal rollout. Magneto taken out as well. When you lose your 2 Vanguards this early in the match, this early in the fight, it is critical, because you don't have that front line, you don't have that boundary, that border to play defense for the team. And we see that Erinite have already gotten through 2/3 of this first section. They are in spitting distance of the door on that home stretch. We do see Underachievers starting to make use of that high ground, starting to set up that defensive line, but is it too little too late? Doctor Strange pushing forward with his shield and the cloak and dagger as well, but there is the Invisible Woman ult to do everything they can to sustain their team. Punisher's got an ult ready and waiting in the pocket, as does Phoenix, as does Loki. We see Punisher pull his ult from Underachievers to try and start pushing Erinite back. We're seeing a little bit of momentum now. 2 picks go down, one of which is the Doctor Strange, a crucial pick for them. Now setting up the turret, they finally have their defensive lineup once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just some early picks from Erinite on that first wave. Just meant Underachievers constantly had to push back and back and back. And they almost gave up the whole first point. But instead, finally, especially with how much ultimate utility that they dumped into Erinite, they are able to retake some space. But as you can see here, now that the respawns have come back through, the ults are back into the hands of Erinite. And we see that pushback yet again. The Punisher ult comes out, finds 2. We do see the resurrection come through, so Underachievers does have a chance, but they're stuck in that corner and they need to push through.
Doctor Strange with the ultimate to stall Underachievers. They are still calling out Emma Frost as well, doing whatever they can just to hold them back. Invisible Woman also investing their ult into this fight. 2 went down for the Underachievers. Magneto also goes down, was just about to say hanging on by the skin of his teeth with just a little bit of life back. Underachievers aren't able to get onto the point. Erinite are pushing it through. They get to the door, reset the clock, 4 minutes, and they don't even need to make it through the entirety of the section. The end is in sight for Erinite. Will they be able to run away and take this point? Phoenix hunting down that Warlock, who is just going to let himself go back to spawn room. Honestly, a relatively smart decision here, as Magneto sets up the front line on this corner, trying to use the environment as best he can to defend himself. His team are with him again. This is their opportunity to set up that line and halt Erinite in their tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the amount of damage that Erinite is doing, they are just collectively looking at one player at a time and just removing them from the board, which is constantly putting Underachievers into an awkward position. We do see a bit of an alteration. Underachievers now going for that heavy dive. And yet again, a lot of ultimates being invested in one direction. Underachievers getting a lot of value out of it. But we are yet again in a position where Underachievers have none, and Erinite, to be fair, also have none available, but they're a lot closer. I mean, the Punisher, the Doctor Strange, the Phoenix, and the Loki all within 20%. So they are going to have the advantage into the next fight. Underachievers, though, with the changes, kind of hoping to do something similar to what Erinite did last. We see that Vanguard switch over to the Captain America, but we do see the Star-Lord instead of the Psylocke. Might be able to do a little bit more without getting into as dangerous positions.
2 minutes left on the clock, and we're seeing that Punisher ult is ready, trying to get as much value of it as we can. We see a Star-Lord out as well. They have gone full Guardians. Oh, but the Phoenix with 2 massive picks. Emma Frost with 2 as well. An amazing pick, and a 5th one, and a 6th. Warlock is the only one standing purely from his resurrection. He's about to go down as well. All of Underachievers was wiped out by Erinite, who now continue to push forward. The caveat to all this is now Underachievers have an ever so slight spawn advantage in comparison to Erinite, but it might not be enough. The portal is set up, and it almost
Portal play.
sort of flummoxed the Emma Frost just a little bit. They are now pushing forward with everything they have. There is the Mantis with their ultimate, but she gets taken down by the Doctor Strange. A beautiful Eye of Agamotto there. Erinite just need to hold on to this point a little bit longer, get those few extra meters to be able to push themselves through to the first point of this series. There is the Invisible Woman ultimate from Erinite as well, sustaining their team. And now UnderAchievers being forced back down the lane as Erinite always take a defensive position. We see the Starlord pulling out his ult to desperately try and get a pick here anywhere to get that play. There we start to see them fall finally. Captain America able to get 2, able to get 3 picks, and UnderAchievers able to secure the point and get that defensive position back. 60 seconds left on the clock. There's one more pick for UnderAchievers. Erinite with the reset. No ults yet cooked up, a couple on the way. The Captain America ult ready to go, but this is going to get down to the wire. 50 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and just unfortunate timing for Mufasa going into that fight. Dies, no cocoon available, sitting on the ult. Then they get the portal play on the stairs, and it just means that there's no way for them to get back quickly. They manage to scrape by, get to the point, and just dumping ultimates on them to secure the kills. And now, with less than a minute left on the clock, 30 seconds in fact, Erinite are being forced to do something here, but they're trapped under this overhang.
That is the spawn advantage from UnderAchievers that they had. They were able to collect themselves and set up the defensive line right outside of Erinite's spawn. They're not going to be able to break through. I don't think anyone has snuck in behind them. The portal isn't ready. There is nothing they can do as we get into these last 10 seconds. A couple ultimates in Erinite's favor. Maybe that Punisher can pull out one more miracle, but it looks like they went for Spider-Man to try and switch. He was able to get through, but there is the Erinite Punisher, able to sneak in through the backline, was able to touch it enough for overtime. He was taken out before he could get any value from his ultimate, but that might have been everything they need. UnderAchievers were forced to rotate and fold backwards, meaning Erinite could get in a little bit. There is Spider-Man desperately trying to hold on. We go to the final seconds of overtime and it's over, and UnderAchievers were able to play defense and able to score that point. I believe that it's going to mean that Erinite, unfortunately, despite their best efforts, unable to get that first point in this crucial best of 3. Very well done from this Captain America.
I mean, insane. A game of inches, really. I mean, there was almost no distance. That I think they were practically at overtime of just pushing it maybe centimeters ahead to securing the points, but it doesn't quite happen. And UnderAchievers put the first, they get the first blood, and it was an insane reverse of their fortunes, I'll call it, because they were really struggling on that point 1. And obviously, we've talked about it in the past, Yggdrasil's path does feel very different from point to point to point. But man, they just could not get a foothold in that first point. They were constantly getting pushed back. They only really won one good fight, but then were immediately pushed back. They lost that first fight in point 2. They got all the way to it, but when it really came down to it, even when they had everything stacked against them, like I said, Mufasa dies, no cocoon available, sitting on the ult. He was trying to get away, was hunted down by the Captain America, and they had no time, portaled off, no portal available to them. It seemed like doom and gloom. It was over. Pack up, go to the game number 2. And through grit and determination, they just claw themselves back. And after that, they just don't let off the gas. And it just felt like Erinite didn't have a means to deal with it. So, I mean, massive point for UnderAchievers. That's going to give them a lot of momentum going into game number 2. And Erinite definitely going to be sweating a little bit. Again, every game, every round matters. So dropping the first one for the day is not great. So Erinite can be sweating, but hopefully we see them come back with a little bit of life and energy into game number 2, and hopefully they can get a point and take us to game number 3.
I think that is the most high octane back and forth, like to the wire match we've seen in this circuit so far. It was incredible work. Incredibly proud of both Erinite and UnderAchievers for putting on an incredible match. And of course, we're going right through to domination in a few moments. And domination can, it might secure it for UnderAchievers. It might get them that second point and have them go right on through. But Erinite, of course, are a very, very solid team and very cohesive. I think that's what we saw most from Idrisil's Path, is this is a team that works very, very well together. And when they adapt, they do not miss a beat. They made the changes as and when necessary. And honestly, if that Doctor Strange portal was up, we might be telling a very different story going into this. So I'll be
yeah.
very excited to see what Domination has in store. I'm kind of hoping we go to round 3, at least as far as stream has been concerned. We've not seen a convergence match yet in this circuit. I'm still holding out for it. I think if there is a matchup that can bring us that convergence game, it is Erinite and Underachievers, because I know how important tonight is. It's the last night of group stage. It's the last night to get those final couple of points to secure your place in the finals next week. And they know, especially with this group, every single match matters. Every second, every overtime, every ult, every hero pick can mean victory or defeat. It might mean the difference between being here next week and having to go home empty-handed. They know exactly what they need to do. I'll be very, very interested to see if we see more of the same or a shake-up of things. But Erinite and Underachievers, kudos to you for what you've done so far tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we even have a chance of going to map 3, we do have to go to map number 2. Like you said, it's going to be Domination. We're making our way over to Celestial Hulk, the new Domination map. Still a lot to be learned and discovered about this map. Obviously, only the 3rd week of it really being in play. So still a lot of developing meta around here, but the notable thing is for a lot of these sections, pretty open area up top. Flyers are absolutely in play here. Obviously, that Human Torch. We saw both teams banning out in game number 1. I would not be surprised to see it happen again, especially as we do see very similar bans to game number 1. We see that Emma and that Mag ban back to back, exactly as we saw it. No side swap either, so Erinite is going to remain on blue. The Mag Protect, the exact same front 3 that we saw in game number 1. That's not surprising. Again, Emma and Magneto are by far the best 2 tanks in the game. A bit more brawly for Emma Frost, and of course, the best shielding tank in Magneto. Very well paired together. Most teams just do not allow any team to have that combination. So to see them get banned out, it pretty much just comes down to which one you would prefer to play with. So it looks like Erinite probably going to be rocking that Emma Frost again. Erinite also then, having to deal with the Magneto for Underachievers. And it's looking like we might just get basically a run back. I mean, the Luna Protect, we do actually hover for a Loki ban. That would actually be crazy. Loki is not seen as one of the big priority bans in the current meta, but he is by far one of the best combination, or I guess flex strategists in the game. Like I said, the best strategist line is Loki with any combination of Luna, Invisible Woman, or Cloak and Dagger. So the fact that we see that Loki ban definitely says a lot. We do see immediately taken away from Underachievers as Aaron and I go, if you're going to ban the Loki, so are we. So no Loki's going to be in play for game number 2. That is just definitely going to make the strategist play a little bit different to game number 1.
Game psychology at its finest. Cloak and Dagger banned as well. I think it's a relatively fair ban. We saw a lot of value from Cloak and Dagger in that last game. The sustainability of their ultimates is huge in keeping your team alive. Aaron not able to save the Emma Frost there. So again, another hero we saw a lot of critical play from last time. We saw that massive Emma Frost ult on Idrisil's Path. Erinite in blue, Underachievers in red, of course. But very, very strategic. Getting rid of that Human Torch as well. We saw that last time. Want to try and get rid of them. We know if that Invisible Woman is going to be in play. Those two work very, very well in tandem. We're going into the last ban and last save for either team. Who are Underachievers going to save in this last crucial pick before we go into the Celestial Husk? As we see them sort of hovering slightly, trying to figure out what it is exactly they want. They save the Cloak and Dagger. Very, very smart play, trying to keep as many specialist options alive as possible, with a lot of them being banned off by Erinite in the Lunar Snow. and the Loki, who could be very, very valuable. And that final ban from Erinite as we go into the last couple of seconds, and they are banning the Warlock. They are getting rid of the Resurrection. And honestly, that's not something you might typically see, but after that last game, I'm not that surprised.
Yeah, a little bit of a retribution ban. Don't want to deal with it in game one and game two like they dealt with it in game one. I do question a little bit of the play here for underachievers. I don't, or excuse me, for the side of Erinite. Are you banning away the cloak and dagger while also keeping the Magneto pretty hard counters cloak and dagger, so I don't know why you would invest basically 2 bans to deal with the one problem. But at the end of the day, that's their call. Maybe they just don't want to deal with cloak in general. But that being said, Jean Grey is definitely going to be the talking point. Obviously, got dropped with this map alongside it, plays really well. On top of there being a lot of overhead space for flyers, which Phoenix isn't particularly a flyer, but can get very high up and just dives into the back with the ultimate. But the ability to just chunk out any grouping of individuals is so valuable on this map, because even though there's a lot of overhead space, the actual ground area is so tight and congested. It's very similar to Krakoa in a way, where it's just kind of like a big spaghetti noodle of different routes, but all the actual hallways are pretty close together. So big AoE poke heroes that can do damage are going to get a lot of value here. Jean Grey especially. So if they find the right ultimate, if they find the right enemy opposition clumped up, it could just spell disaster for anyone standing across from them.
As we see, point is unlocked finally, and both teams trying to make their presence known, trying to get early in. We've seen Namor there setting up their turrets. I mean, you mentioned it a lot on this show, that those turrets can be crucial both defensively but also offensively. If you're trying to take that point, it can draw a little bit of fire away, can provide a little bit of suppression to the enemy team, so it could be crucial. We see that Captain America jumping around, trying to run interference for their team. I don't think we've seen a death as of yet, so both teams are still trying to hold on as best they can. Specialists doing their work. There are the first 2 falls, and it's underachievers that lose their first 2. They lose their third. Do try and get one back by taking out the Invisible Woman, but 3-1. Erinite definitely have the advantage. Phoenix was taken out, and underachievers take out the Lunar Snow as well. They do definitely get the blood back for everything they've lost, and now it is Hulk desperately trying to hold that point. Point is yet to be captured here, but we might see that change as Erinite was able to wipe out the rest. Underachievers was able to wipe out the rest of Erinite there. Do capture the point with almost everybody present, and now it's going to be Erinite on the offensive once again, a position we've seen that they are very decent at, but this is a very different environment for them to be in, and with that Namor as well, it's going to be very, very curious if that factors into how they make this push, as we see the Hulk jumping in early, trying to dive as best they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I talk about it a lot. The Namor is very valuable and can get so much space, but is not great on the actual attacking side. If they can crack this site open and take it, they'll be doing a lot better once they switch over to the defense, but they just can't seem to do it. This team of underachievers with this very heavy poke composition, that Punisher, the Ultron, the Mantis, the Cloak and Dagger, is just making it so difficult for them to take space, especially when you also have the Captain America jumping in the back line and that Magneto just blocking everything that comes through those choke points. Erinite, they are doing their best, but they're being trapped against their spawn doors. They are so far forward, underachievers, while they are taking up a lot of space. If one slips by them or this site hold goes wrong, it's going to be really hard for them to reset. That being said, finally coming from the side, Erinite trying to fight for this point now.
Erinite have a little bit of presence on point, but the other thing as well, they have a lot of ultimates ready to go. As we see, Namor was able to throw his out to try and run interference. They did lose the Emma Frost, so that's going to be a massive ultimate not at their disposal, but there is Hela ready to go. They do get a pick, was able to take out, I believe that was the Cloak and Dagger, so that could be quite a big play. Hella knocked out of her ult and taken down by Magneto, shut down immediately. So Erinite, whilst they had the ultimate advantage, Underachieved have done very, very well at controlling this team as best they can and trying to minimize the resources that they're letting out. We are in overtime at this point. We do see Erinite with presence on the objective. Luna Snow desperately trying to keep their team up. There's the Magneto ult as well. Couple of kills back and forth, but very even in this fight so far. Now Hulk harassing the Magneto. We see the Doctor Strange portal up as well, so we're going to try and minimize that rollout for the team as best they can. Captain America desperately trying to pick away at the Erinite attacking force here, but he gets taken out, as does some. I've missed who was taken out there as well, but that's 2 down, 3 down for Underachievers as the Punisher gets wiped out. That's going to be a massive, massive hold for Erinite, who are able to take the objective.
Yeah, absolutely. Erinite in the final seconds, it's 99% for Underachievers, so they have to be nearly flawless here on this hold. Again, they should do a lot better now that the Namor is going to be on this defensive side. Those turrets can just do so much damage, and they're so difficult to push through. Put bets off onto the flank, put the turrets down on points, and it becomes very difficult to deal with them. As we see here, the Namor just makes the Captain America run away, and I think he's going to secure the kill here. Never mind, just going to make him run away for his life. But you could just see how much damage they do, especially with that Hulk team up. Meanwhile, the choke point is being held by Erinite elsewhere. Being able to single-handedly pull and deal with the Vanguard of Captain America is just so valuable. It just means Erinite cannot take, or Underachievers can't take as much space as they would like to.
Invisible Woman ult from Erinite out in the place, trying to sustain their team. We do see the Punisher ult from Underachievers. We've seen a lot of value from this, but he's not quite able to get the picks as of yet, and he is running out of time. Shut down and eliminated by the Invisible Woman. A crucial pick at this point. We see the choke slam from Emma Frost on Mantis as well, as they are trying their best to stay alive, but they just aren't able to get a hold on the point. Hulk able to get one out. That's 3 down for Underachievers. Erinite, and again, it's this back and forth between Erinite and Underachievers that we've seen throughout the entirety of this series so far. They are once again pushing Underachievers back to their spawn, taste of their own medicine here, as we get closer and closer to overtime. We're in the final 10%, so we see Captain America using their ultimate to try and get presence on point, and Doctor Strange setting up the portal as well. Could be going into the final fight of the game as we go into overtime. All teams have presence on point here, and we're going into the final moments.
Yeah, big E from the Doctor Strange, but it doesn't seem like it's doing it. Erinite are holding the line. They're picking up the scraps. Bets on the side has done so good for this team, constantly getting the kills when they need them, and in the moment, they secure it. And despite how crazy that was, you may be surprised to know that was just round 1. 99 and 99. Neither one of these teams are willing to give an inch. But finally, Erinite secure round 1. Underachievers on the back foot for the first time, really, this match. Erinite, though, going to be feeling good going into this. But again, I'm expecting this to be a brawl. I mean, you could cut the tension in that first round with a butter knife.
No, absolutely. It's so crucial that every play is meaningful and everything is calculated as we see these teams prepare for second round at the Celestial Vault. Erinite might have a little bit of confidence going into this match, but I can't let it get into their heads. They still need to make sure they secure this point before we go into third round. Underachievers still have the advantage in the sense that they have the first point under their belt. Doors are about to open and both teams are going to start moving in towards that objective. 30 seconds until it unlocks. See the Psylocke from Underachievers' side. And we see the Winter Soldier from Erinite. So we've seen a little bit of change up in their duelists. So we'll see how that factors in. Teams are going to meet here around the objective. Both looks like Erinite trying to poke through at Underachievers, who are more just focused on pushing forward and trying to get their presence on point very early. And that is where they were at their strongest in the last round, is where they had presence on the objective and were able to force Erinite backwards towards their point. But there is the Emma Frost ult very early. Gets a beautiful pick there, taking out one of the specialists for Underachievers. And now Erinite 6 to Underachievers 4. We might see them capture the point first in this round.
Yeah, absolutely. Erinite do make a couple of changes in the composition, but the primary pieces are still there. While Underachiever try to go for a more dive comp here as they switch over to that Psylocke. They keep the Captain America, but with the Invisible Woman as well, just means there's a lot more room for them to dive closer into the backline, especially as now with this round, this map is not quite as congested as the previous one. So there's a lot more space to take up. You're going to get a lot more value out of like that Psylocke ult that has such a big area and radius of effect. That being said, we do see finally trades. Underachievers now having some ults in their back pocket are going to invest all of them at once. Haven't quite found any real value. No one to fall quite yet. No one but their teammate Mufasa is going to go down. A big strategist off the board for Erinite there to deal with. But the damage is finally making its way through. Erinite finally losing a couple of members of their own.
Some big specialist ultimates there to sustain their team and keep them alive, and now trying to pick up the scraps, clean up house here. Captain America on the chase for Lunar Snow is finally going to pull away. We do see them capture the objective. Erinite able to get 50%. They're halfway there. That's nothing to shake at. But Underachievers, very, very good at holding this. They were able to hold it right through to overtime last round, so we'll see if they can do that again. Hulk trying to keep his team up as best he can. See that Emma Frost as well, Winter Soldier on the front line, but there is Captain America ult, trying to put pressure on Erinite as much as they can, trying to invest a little bit here, unable to get a pick, and now sort of being forced backwards a little bit, might have pulled that for its own survival. Captain America, though, taken out. I think they were able to take out the Punisher there. I'm not quite sure what happened, but Namor able to get 2 critical picks here as starting to push forward. Underachievers on the back foot now as they start to get presence. Erinite on the objective once again, and 2 ultimates as well. Ultimate advantage and continuing the percentage climb on objective. Erinite cleaned up very, very quickly. Only able to get 50% was Underachievers.
Yeah, absolutely. Crash finds multiple with that big Psylocke ultimate, the Dance of the Butterflies. But the rest of the team, while Crash is crashing into the backline, pun intended, is just kind of dealt with. And Erinite are able to capitalize on the fact that one of their big duelists are not directly in play. Now they have the advantage, and we see that Namor and Hulk on the defensive. Though we do see Underachievers immediately, the ones to pop ults first, as we've seen them do so many times in this series. They are going to get value out of it. Unlike last time, where it took a little bit of an extended fight, now everyone's fallen except these last 2, and it's down to just that Luna Snow ult, but with no ult to play for, it is just going to be it. Scraps to be picked off the plate. Erinite, 99 seconds on, or 99% on the board. It comes down to milliseconds, but Underachievers get themselves one last opportunity, one chance to make it a 1-1 for the round count.
And the other thing as well is Underachievers have the ultimate economy in their back pocket as well. 3-2 currently. Emma Frost and Invisible Woman going to have theirs soon, but still need to build it up a little bit. See Magneto here holding the front line, and this is a position that Underachievers are very, very comfortable in. There is the Psylocke ult, but I don't think they're able to pick off anyone. They're very, very good defensive play from Hulk, and I believe that was the Invisible Woman. Trying to sustain the team as best they could, trying to keep everyone grouped up and together, making use of these symbiote walls, the little environmental gimmick of this particular domination map. We are getting to the final few seconds of the game, 95% on the objective. Erinite need to get presence on the point, and they do. They get 3 crucial kills. They are back on point. It is 99-99. If they're able to cap this, which they do, as they take out another 3, Erinite are going to have a second point on the board. I don't think Underachievers are going to be able to make it. No, I didn't see the switch to Doctor Strange. They're able to hold it, but they don't get the presence on. They weren't able to get through the portal. Erinite have 2-0'd them. We're going to convergence.
Okay, and I mean, I need to give massive shout outs to Betts, doing massive work for the team on the Namor there for both rounds, and also was doing some incredible work on the Punisher in game number 1. They just couldn't get their team over the line, but here they were just crucial. I mean, getting a penta in that big final fight, multiple multi kills throughout both rounds. It was spectacular, insane. Yeah, 23k damage in a 2-0 domination, 30 eliminations, 19 final hits. No one else has over 9. They've got 10 more than them. Insane performance from them. They're going to be feeling really good going into game number 3. And yeah, we're going to Convergence. It's I think between both of us is our favorite game mode to observe, because it's a little bit of a combination of both of the previous ones. A little bit of that domination to start off. You have to play for that choke point, for the actual point early on, and then after that, kind of turns into a convoy and a race to see who can get the farthest. So it's kind of forces teams to adapt. Each stage of the game is a little bit different. You have to bring in different ideas. You very possibly have to completely change compositions on the fly, which is a test for a lot of teams. So it definitely makes for, I think, the best watching. So I'm excited. I really think we could not have asked for a better game, a better series. I know we keep harping on it, but these two teams don't want to give an inch, and it's so clear through this game. So I'm expecting this to be insane, a calamity of a game.
It is going to be chaos and kind, and I'm absolutely here for it. Convergence is my favorite game mode to watch. That always breaks my heart that most weeks we don't see a lick of it. And we've said it once or twice before, but I could not think of two better teams at this point in the tournament to be at this stage of their series than Erinite and Underachievers. It's been one hell of a best of 3 so far, and we are going to be ending it out with a bang. I am so excited. I'll be very curious to see what the bans are like for this, because obviously there are going to be some heroes that are universally useful, but there are some heroes that are more domination sort of favoring. We see a lot of that sort of Namor and Winter Soldier as well. Very useful on domination. We don't see them as much on a convoy. So is that going to factor into the banning phase? Is that going to factor into the decisions that are made? We're going to find out in a few moments as the teams are just deciding on what map it's going to be. So we'll get to you on that as soon as we know. But I am I'm so hyped. I've been waiting for a Convergence game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought I was going to have to wait until next week. We get a little teaser of what the final week is going to look like here tonight. One of these teams could be the finalists next week. One of these teams could carry it right on through to the end
Oh, yeah.
of Circuit 2. I'm very excited. I'm shaking. Like you can't see it because I am 2-dimensional, but I'm shaking. Any sort of last minute advice, Soren, for these teams after what is an exhausting series so far?
I mean, at this point, it really does come down to swapping in the game, changing and being willing to change and adapt on the fly. Both teams have done it so far, where they've run into a team composition that their enemy is playing, and they just get nothing. I think back to Underachievers on the defensive side in the second round of game number 1. They just could not do anything to hold that point round 1. They made the changes that they needed to, switch over to a more dive comp, which we actually saw Erinite do the exact same thing on their defensive hold the round previous. But it was just a little bit cleaner from Underachievers. So they made the alterations that they needed to, and because of that, they were able to win it out. We saw multiple changes there in the domination. So honestly, I think it really does come to the down to the adaptability, especially on Convergence again, where each point is so different point to point that you kind of need to be a little bit flexible. But that being said, it is going to be Hall of Jalia. Erinite is going to be starting on defense. So Jalia is definitely I would say one of the OG maps. I think that's one of the ones that people always think of when you think of Convergence. Very open map, a lot of room for flyers. Yet again, this was one of the definitional brawling maps. I know brawling is not quite as meta. We're seeing teams dip into it a little bit, like with that Captain America and the Psylocke that we keep seeing between these two teams. But Brawl was definitely a mainstay here, so we could see someone pull that out and maybe go for a bit more definitive Brawl comp. But of course, Poke is still very much in the meta. the hallways are not quite, and the corridors are not quite as tight as in Clintar as we just were, but you could definitely still see a Jean Grey. We're at a very good point where there's many different compositions, and you could kind of run any of them. There's up and down sides to all of them, but I would say flying and brawling is probably going to be what we see both these teams lead into. But you never know; they can always change it up and turn us around on it.
Well, we've seen that Human Torch being banned a lot tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Been banned on both maps. Obviously, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Is do we finally let the Flyers out, and do we let them have a little bit of fun, or are we going to keep them locked away as we go into that banning phase? And this is where everyone's going to get real curious. What are the picks going to be? Are we going to see another Adam Warlock ban? Are we going to shut down the Resurrection comp?
Hey,
like we did last time.
It could be valuable here.
That because that is something we saw in that second round. I think both Erinite and Underachievers were able to make value of that Resurrection comp, and it's something that you wouldn't normally think to ban. But when it comes to these particular teams and what they're able to execute, that's then something you need to take into account. Emma Frost banned on both sides of the team. She's just out of it completely. We've seen a lot of her tonight. She's hitting the bench. Luna Snow is going to be saved for Underachievers in red, Erinite in blue on defense, saving that Luna Snow, who played a pivotal role earlier on in that control map, that domination map, but was unable to fully sustain the team with the pressure that Erinite put on. Erinite going to ban away Magneto, so that is potentially going to free them up for a Cloak and Dagger support. They are going to save Luna Snow for their side as well. So Luna is going to be on the field for both teams. A very good healer, very, very useful ultimate, especially to combo with someone like a Loki perhaps, or even an Adam Warlock. Or a Mantis as well. A lot of variation for those ultimates. So they are going to ban the Cloak and Dagger. They see the Magneto ban, and they're going to shut Cloak and Dagger down, try to prevent that entirely. 2 bans, 1 save left for either team.
Yeah, I was actually curious with the 2 Emma bans. I really thought there was a possibility where they just kind of handshake the Magneto, which I was going to say, that kind of caused them to question the Cloak and Dagger. If, they just allow Magneto to come through. There's a team ban away the Cloak and Dagger, knowing that pretty heavily counters it. But instead, we see Erinite ban away the Magnetos, and they go, okay, if we can't have Mag, then you're not allowed to have Cloak and Dagger. So that is going to be huge. Both teams say no Loki, which is actually very interesting because obviously, like I said, Loki with any of those 3 supports are like the go-to. So both teams say no, we are going to have unique backlines. I do think that hurts Erinite a little bit more, seeing as there have been more targeted bans, obviously by Cloak and Dagger being taken away from them. So less viability, less options on the table for Erinite in that back line. We do see the Human Torch get banned away. Again, like I said, I think they could have gotten a lot of value here. There is that triple back line of like the Mantis, the Ultron, and any of those main 3 healers, and rocking the flying Human Torch in the back. So that flying comp is still very runnable right now. So we'll see that get banned away, saying nope. You're not going to be allowed to have that. We do see the final ban. It is going to be the Adam Warlock. You're absolutely right. Erinite don't want to deal with it. So they are instead going to ban the way. And they do hover a little bit. It's going to be on the table for them. But again, this backline is going to be a little bit interesting for Erinite. Not a lot of options to play with, but they did lock in that Luna Snow. So you should expect to see that. The Rocket being hovered. Okay, I was gonna say if the moment they see the Phoenix, I'd imagine that Rocket gets turned into something else because Rocket right now is kind of at the mercy of the game whether or not a Phoenix is in it, because Phoenix can just absolutely delete the raccoon off the map. So we do see that swapped over. It's going to save Erinite a little bit of time. Just stick with the Invisible Woman. It's a little bit safer in the current meta. But yeah, both teams going to be running out. It's definitely going to be very interesting. A little bit more of a dive composition with Erinite. That being said, they do have the Namor obviously probably not going to be stuck on once they move to the more convoy and the cart pushing aspect of the map. But here, where they are just trying to defend this point for as long as physically possible, I actually think that that's a really good pickup.
I've also eyed that Erinite have got the Namor and Hulk team up. So Gamma Squid, as you coined it a few weeks ago, is going to be on the field. See that Doctor Strange as well. So are they going to potentially be looking for a portal rollout at some point in this round? We see Venom just
What the
hanging
Venom
around
doing?
on the side.
What
He's
that
just
Venom
hanging
doing?
about. He's just hanging about. He's chilling. All right, you let him go. We're just gonna let him do what he gotta do.
Oh no!
Going around on that back line.
I didn't see
looking
him.
For the supports, taken out by the freeze though. A very, very good dive attempt, but countered very nicely by the CC from Luna Snow. As we see Phoenix now trying to peek away at those specialists, and we're now sort of having a little bit. I'm getting flashbacks to 2 Fort days from TF2. These two just sniping at each other from the sides. A really nice position there from Namor with his turrets, but gets taken out by the attacking team UnderAchievers there, who does try and poke through a little bit. We see the Gamma Squid in action there, going after the Venom, who dives back in towards those defensive specialists on the back line. Unable, though, UnderAchievers to really get much presence on point. They're doing quite well to hold themselves here and build up a little bit of ult charge, but they need to start pushing through, start to get that percentage going. They have done so, and Erinite are there to meet them at the door. Hulk now trying to push through and take out that Venom, who is still in the backline. I think we saw that Doctor Strange there as well. So they're now starting to push in on Erinite, get a little bit of presence on point, able to get the first segment of the objective. Luna Snow has her ult ready to go, trying to keep their team up, which they do, but Namor there staying alive gets taken out mid-air by Hela. That's why you got to keep your eye out for the Goddess of Death. Venom gets the ultimate out and is able to get a kill from the Luna Snow, and now UnderAchievers slowly starting to pick the team apart one by one. The portal is out for the defensive team, but they are able to capture the objective.
Yeah, I think a little interesting popping the Invisible Woman ult there, immediately followed by the portal. I could see the vision, but it was definitely a risky play. It does mean that they lose that first point. Then the more doing so much work up on that top side, but the moment they show presence and actually come down off the point, they immediately get sniped out of the air. Betts is now in a position, though, where he's having to defend against a pushing cart, which is fine with Namor. It's obviously still defensive, but it's definitely not ideal. It's better at holding a singular point, but he can't swap off because he's still sitting on that ultimate. So I'd imagine we see that get invested pretty soon here. So yep, there we go. Over the top, we see the whale come down. Doesn't really find anything, though, as Erinite are investing quite a bit, but they've lost all of their ultimates and have been losing ground. The Hela ultimate comes out in response for UnderAchiever, but it's stuck around the corner, so also not going to find too much. Big 3-man ult from the Doctor Strange. Finds one before getting taken out. And overall, I think Erinite still come out on positive there, getting 2 kills off that. But man, what value, what a possibility that could have been.
Beautiful, beautiful little dive from Doctor Strange. We love to see it. We see Hulk as well, forcing the team back a little bit. UnderAchievers are on the back foot as we go into this next fight, but they have made a good amount of progress. 3/4 of the way down the road for that objective. Just going to make it around that last corner, and they'll be able to get themselves a checkpoint. Namor hanging out, keeping an eye on the back line, maybe looking to set up that Gamma Squid on the back line. I think he did. Tried to get a little bit of value, gets taken out very, very quickly. Squid placement hasn't been perfect here from this Namor. We're looking for a little bit more of a spread from them, but Hulk looking to jump in and protect his team as best they can. That Luna investing their ults, try and get a push in. Their team is able to get presence on the car, but Magneto with the ult doesn't find anybody. I think Phoenix was able to get a kill there on Erinite. So now it's going to be 5-5 as Phoenix from Erinite gets a counter pick. They take out the Doctor Strange as well. Beautiful value. Venom goes down too. That's all the Vanguard's Cloak and Dagger, I believe, was also in danger there. Forced to back away. Hela taken out as well. Erinite, once again, really strong on the defense.
Yeah, and instead of making the swap, they're actually sticking with this Namor and Hulk. It is getting some value, especially as they are able to kind of hold this choke point here. Hulk is also finding so much work done. Oh my, Bets just removed Crash. Send them back to the respawn screen. That is going to be a big hit for Underachievers' attempt to push back out, immediately having to back away. Erinite taking the opportunity to run them down. It just causes them to have longer reset times now. So that's practically perfect for Erinite, as yet again, they are just holding this point down. I will say, again, Bet's getting a lot of value here on this Namor, is going to do better on that choke point hold, but the longer they're on it, the more they're pushing it back, the more of an awkward position it becomes for Bets on this Namor to hold it. So I would imagine this fight will be a little bit more difficult, but he's done so well, especially even without the turret, so they'll still find the value.
Cloak and Dagger going to pull their ult out here to try and keep the team alive. Big Namor stun on Lunar Snow from their ultimate. Hela is up there with their ult as well, but gets targeted hard. Phoenix not able to find anyone with their ult either. A lot of ult invested in this fight. Not a lot of value from a lot of them. We're able to scatter the teams a little bit. There is one pick. Underachievers now 2 down. Doctor Strange might be looking for another Eye of Agamotto. Magneto, though, with the play, I believe, locks in on the Lunar Snow, takes them out. That Cloak was able to take out the Namor, so it's relatively even. But ever since Erinite was able to set up this defensive line, the attack from Underachievers has kind of fallen apart. They're not been able to find themselves and really get the footing they need to get that last push for the objective, which has been pushed all the way back to halfway down the path. So they've lost a lot of ground here, and it's going to take them a little bit to get through to that checkpoint, which time they might not have. They're going into overtime now. They were able to capture the objective, but Erinite, pretty strong in the defense, need to take out this Venom very quickly, invest the ultimate. There's the Invisible Woman's ult to defend it, though, and now all 6 are going to be back on defense. We're going into the final seconds. This could be rough for Underachievers.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimates being invested. Erinite trying to do what they can to get back to the point to stop this push. And they have taken a lot more ground. Yet again, ult being invested. That whale just getting sent into the back line. Just continues to find more and more. The Phoenix ult is going to start burning them on point. Crash, meanwhile, is sitting in the back line. They need to stay on this point, though, if they want to keep it pushing. They're in position to C9, and they're going to do so. They walk right off point and send this into round number 2 here. Oh, tragedy strikes them. They were still there, but got off before they could stop the overtime counter from ticking down.
Erinite have really woken up. Erinite have pulled it together in the last couple of rounds that we've seen. They've really done well to just sort of solidify their team and lock it in. And obviously, we know that Underachievers are good at defending, especially on the sort of domination style. We saw that from the last round. But I honestly think if Underachievers lose this first objective, it might be curtains. Erinite did incredibly well. Don't forget in that first game of Convoy to effectively get the cart to exactly where they needed it for this game. They just need to pull out round 1 one more time, and we could be seeing Erinite next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think a win would practically guarantee them the spot in. I think Underachievers would still be in a position to secure it. I don't know what their next game is. I think there's a possibility it is going to be against FlyQuest, but FlyQuest just recently made a change to their roster, and they lost both their games last week. So they are weaker than we may have anticipated them being when we first started this tournament. So that means that the Kings can bleed. So everything is still up in the air. But that being said, it was not a perfect defense. I mean, they still stopped them from getting a second point. It does mean Underachievers just has to have a bit of a better defense. And Erinite still have a pretty long walk to go, especially through some very tough choke points, some of the hardest ones to break on this map. As you do see the 2 flanking duelists, they don't know that they're right across from each other, but they in fact are. And in fact, Betts is actually going to go around the side. Oh no. Gets spotted, already gets chunked down, having to back away. We do see Erinite do what we saw Underachievers do last time around, take that side angle, try to push through that upper deck. But they are running into the difficulty of this Phoenix. He was just able to do so much chunk damage. I say that as they get removed from the board.
Yep. Unfortunately, though, Namor was taken out by Psylocke as well. Namor got first eyes, but Psylocke was able to play very, very well. That a pick, Lunar Snow is down. Magneto, two very crucial picks in this fight. Psylocke got a second pick. Lunar Snow down as well, but Hulk was able to get a pick. 3 down for Underachievers, 2 for Erinite. Erinite have the advantage on this. Invest in the Cloak and Dagger Rock to sustain. They have that Captain America as well. That's something we saw from last time. We see a Spider-Man come in. Not a very popular pick so far in the second, but is able to get a pick, taking out the Psylocke. Erinite pulling out Peter Parker out of nowhere. Try saying that 5 times fast. Phoenix gets a few chips of damage. We see the Doctor Strange portal there, but is able to get the team back on point. But Erinite able to scatter them. Phoenix takes out the Spider-Man. Lunar Snow trying to keep their team up as best they can. Invisible Woman does go down. Lunar Snow might quickly follow that. They do. Phoenix invests the ult into this. They do get a lot of people with that burn damage, but we'll see if they're able to get the value from it. Hulk able to get 2 picks. Hulk unable to get the third yet. However, Captain America able to stay alive. Phoenix trying their best to support, but that burn damage just was not enough. They were able to get 2 segments, Erinite so far, but are Underachievers going to be able to re-establish their front line? Portal from Doctor Strange. Lunar Snow with an ultimate on the way. This could be a capture.
Yeah, and it cuts off into the actual room with the cart, which is the primary way of getting into the point. That makes it very difficult for Underachievers to get back after their reset. And that does mean they secure point number 1 off of some very clever portal play. And in the scatter of the rest of the team, Underachievers are going to fall. And Erinite are going to take the opportunity, taking so much space. They know that this choke point that they're sitting on is one, the goal to hit, but also so difficult to push through, as we just saw them hold it in the last round. So they're saying, no, we're not even going to give them the opportunity. We're going to try to push up as aggressive as possible, take as much space to deny them the ability to hold that choke point.
And now we get to this part that we've seen a lot, this road that has featured so much in this matchup so far. As we see Hulk there, desperately trying to make a little bit of space for his team. 2 support ults, I believe. Yeah, Cloak and Dagger and Lunar Snow invested in this fight, desperately trying to sustain. Captain America gets the pick on Namor, which could be huge here. Invisible Woman investing their ultimate. Psylocke investing their ult, unable to get anyone from it. I think they were going for the Phoenix there, but Phoenix able to evade them. And now Psylocke, the defending Psylocke, is caught in the back line of the attacking Erinite. Normally, that's not where you want to see them, but Erinite have got full control over the situation. Invest the Hulk ultimate as well to desperately try and keep the team alive, but Captain America able to scatter the specialists in the back line just enough for Underachievers to get a bit of a defensive line back up. They did lose 1 in that fight. Crash was taken out, so that Psylocke is going to be on the rollback. Magneto has their ult. It's looking pretty good for Underachievers right now as they get a pick with the Phoenix ultimate, and Magneto is hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, the downside of that high line that I was talking about that they were holding was they're very susceptible to those backline pressures. I mean, the crash on the Psylocke, just ripping through them, forces them too far back, puts a little bit of separation between the front and the back line, makes it very difficult for healers to do their job and keep the tanks alive. It causes just enough of a time waste that we do see them have to kind of reassess. They try to take a little bit more ground. We even see that ultimate get popped, but the kills are going out Underachievers' way as it's just a scattered mess. There is no definitive lines to play around as both teams are desperately trying to play around this point. This choke point is so difficult to take, and it's even more difficult to hold. But finally, Erinite, with the investment of some ultimates, are taking the ground that they need. They drop the whale as well as time is ticking. The cart's getting close, and that's it. Erinite are going to secure the game, the round, and the series in 2-1 fashion, technically a reverse sweep.
Very, very well done from Erinite. From a shaky start in round 1 to a dominant victory at the end of round 3, have done very, very well. And of course, Underachievers doing incredible to survive the length that they did so far. But Erinite just had that little bit extra in them, which they were able to pull out in the final moments. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. MVP Tenax, very, very well done. King Monkey did incredible as well. All 12 of these individuals were incredible in making sure that we had one of the best Marvel Rivals games I've seen at this stage in a competition to watch. Incredible, incredible work. And absolutely to both of those teams, try and take a moment to get your rest because you guys were going at a mile a minute. So, so impressive. But congratulations to Erinite,
Yeah.
who, you know, it's impossible to say at this point, but it's very, very likely that just secured Erinite their place in the finals next week.
Yeah, I don't know if that secures them their spot in playoffs, but man, it's definitely gonna be close. I think both of these teams kind of can't let off the gas pedal. Because obviously one of the other two teams have won, and everyone's locked in at 2-2. So if they lose next game, there's a good chance they could be in the second, third tie, and it's going to come down to map counts. So neither, like, yeah, take your breath, try to relax a little bit, get rejuvenized for the next game, the next series, but don't let your foot off the gas, either one of your teams, because I mean Erinite still are not out of the woods, and underachievers are at risk of getting knocked out before playoffs. So yeah, uh, the state of that series is still super up in the air, but Erinite doing a damn good job at keeping themselves alive, and that should pretty much lock them in. So they're going to be feeling good. They can't let off the gas. That being said, we do have another series for you tonight. We are going to take a quick break, but that's going to be Rose Syndicate versus Tricksters. We're going to be coming back into that series after a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with you in just about 5 minutes.